Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another recommendations video where I try to get through 10 recommendations in under 30 minutes, which sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't. Just kidding. That's not actually the boundaries of my recommendation videos, but it's what I personally try to do. But today, as you can tell, we're doing single parent romances. I've done a recommendation video before where I did romances with kids in them. So that's kind of this, but it was almost 2 years ago. And I've actually recently read quite a few books that had single parents. I actually really love that, whether it's a single dad or single mom. I usually get really gooey over it because I just love the aspect of someone taking in a kid who isn't theirs and just loving them so much. It just has a lot of significance to me. So we're going to go ahead and dive into this list. I think I have 10 or 11 even today because I was very excited about this trope. So we're going to dive in. The first one I want to talk about is Make Me Yours by Melanie Harlow. Now, I will say Melanie Harlow has quite a few single parent romances. In the previous video I did, there was already like a couple of hers in there. And in this new series, there's actually 2 books that have single parents. I just really like that. But in this one, Make Me Yours, which was her Bellamy Creek series. This one is a brother's best friend series. And it actually works out that our hero, he has a 9-year-old daughter, and he's currently staying with his... So I can't remember who's staying with their parents. So actually, I apologize. But I think they both might be staying with their parents. And they were next door neighbors as kids, you know, and that's why like he was best friends with her brother. And her brother is actually Griffin from the first book in the series, which is like a grumpy garage book. It's really great. Love it. And she is back in her childhood home, and he, I think, is staying with his mother. I think that's the setup. Either way, they're back to living next door to each other. And yeah, he has his 9-year-old daughter, and I believe he's a cop because I think handcuffs play a role in this book a little bit. But they've always been friends, and this one kind of like kicks off the spiciness with a accidental sexting where I believe our heroine is a little bit tipsy and she's sexting our hero, and he just makes his way over to her house and helps her out a little bit, helps her get a good night's rest, and then it kind of goes from there. And we definitely have a hero who is scared to love again, which can definitely be a theme that happens in the single parent situation. All right, next we have a book that I just read the other day, and it kind of inspired my interest in remaking this video because I was like, I bet I've read a lot of single parent romances recently, and boy did I. And that is Breaking the Speed Limit by Melanie Moreland. This is book 2 in the Reynolds Restoration series, and this was just a fun, sweet, but spicy, loving and caring small town romance. So things in the first book kind of set us up for the fact that we have this restoration and like repair shop that has these few men who are working it, and our hero is Brett, and he comes across this woman who, she has a flat tire, and she's really like trying to get him to go away, and he's like, listen, it's getting dark, I could change your tire in 10 minutes, or you can keep, trying to keep your pride here and get stuck here in the dark. What do you want? And he just thinks she's so feisty, so he agrees to change it, and then he ends up handing over a card for the garage, and he's like, you have some other issues with this vehicle, bring it in, he will give you a fair price. Your vehicle isn't really safe right now. And he actually like kisses her right there, and she is like super into it, and then is like, oh, how dare you, and goes away. And then when she ends up bringing the vehicle in, she realizes that he actually is part owner of this restoration place. And she has, I think, like a 3 or 4-year-old son, and she very much is like, doesn't want to get involved with anyone. She doesn't want to have friends in this place. She just wants to work her job and take care of her son. But Reynolds Restoration is a lot more than just restoring cars. It's about restoring lives. And that's what I really loved about this series so far. And I just really loved how actually Stefano is the hero of this book. Wow. Because he's Italian and it's a thing. Brett is the hero of the 3rd book. I was messing up in my video I filmed previous to this too. My brain I read them all, like I said, I read them all at once. Stefano. and he has a big happy family, and he just wants to pull her into it. And I really love watching her walls break down. She does have a secret. She has something she's running from, and that, you know, definitely comes into play as we go. Then I have actually 2 books in the same series to talk about, but I'll go quickly. We have A Single Dad in Lethal Balance by Cherise Sinclair. This is book 2 in the Sons of the Survivalist. I do recommend you read this series in order. The first book is called Not a Hero, but this one is actually like a surprise kid situation. But the hero doesn't get with the mother of his child because she's actually dead. He finds out that he has, I think, like a 9-year-old daughter that he did not know about because he was undercover with like the army or something like that, special ops. And so when the woman tried to contact him that she was having a baby, like they didn't tell him because they thought the woman like was just trying to cause trouble or like whatever. And then many years later, when he's living in a small town in Alaska, he gets contacted by social services and finds out that he has a daughter and that his, you know, one night stand is dead. So this is really great. The romance is between him and the new female cop in town, and it was really, really good. And then the 4th book in the series is called Soar High, and this is about a single mom who, in the book right before this one, she gets, sorry, my back today. She gets rescued from a cult, and our hero, he's a scarred hero. He has a lot of PTSD from different things, and her son is 4 years old. And while she is healing from like her injuries from being rescued from this cult, her son is like staying with her friends, and Hawk is one of them. And he's very surprised that this little boy is falling for him because he sees himself as grumpy and like not approachable by children. But the kid thinks differently. I absolutely love this book. It broke my heart and put it back together. And like I said, the whole series is worth it. These covers, they're not the best thing you've ever seen. But I promise you the books inside are definitely worth your time. They were very moving and I love them. Then I have Riley's Biker. This one is a secret pregnancy, but it's a secret pregnancy where the heroine couldn't get in touch with the hero, so I don't mind that so much. Our heroine too is actually 17 when she has a one-night stand with our hero, who I think he's like 5 or 7 years older than her, but she lies and says that she's 19. They end up having a one-night stand, and then she steals his cut, you know, so his identifying feature as like a member of the Royal Bastards, and she runs away. And then by the time she realizes she's pregnant and she decides to keep the baby, she has no way of contacting him and didn't even know his like real name or anything because he has a biker name, you know. So yeah, this is them now. I think it's 5 years later. She is back in town because her adoptive like father has died, and he was actually the head of a different MC. And so she's in town living in like a house that he'd left her, and our hero Coyote has been trying to chase her down all this time. And when he finds her, he discovers she has a kid who's exactly the age she would be since their one-night stand. So this was really good. I really enjoyed this whole series by Misty Walker. Our heroine is a really great mom, and she's in kind of some sticky situations because of life around her. But I really, really enjoyed this one too. Then we have a fun one. This is The Anti-Boyfriend Year by Penelope Ward. And this one is our heroine is in an apartment, and she has very thin walls. And the hero brings women home, and they keep him awake while he entertains them. And so she has an infant. She's a single mom to an infant. And she runs into her hero in the hallway, and he actually is making a comment about her crying, and not in like a mean way where like your baby needs to shut up, but he just kind of helps her calm the baby down. And then he's like, oh, don't worry about it. And she's like, actually, something you could do for me is, you know, maybe move your bed to an opposite wall because your sexcapades are keeping me awake, and it's very hard for me to get sleep. And he's so embarrassed about it. And he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And they actually end up becoming friends. They're next door neighbors and buddies, and slowly this romance builds between them. And I really like this. This one had a very interesting third act conflict, I'll say that. It didn't have to do with miscommunication. It had to do with something else. But our hero definitely has some things that he's working through. But I actually really enjoyed this. So yeah, The Man Next Door is like the series or whatever. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I like that it was like a baby too. And he just kind of like falls in love with this baby and mom. I really love that. Then we have a nanny romance. You know, we had to share this. There's Rafe by Rebecca Weatherspoon, and this is a buff male nanny. So this is an interracial romance. This one is, I love this so much. So Rafe, he's actually been a nanny for a while. And what happens with this is that Dr. Sloan, she has twin daughters, and they have a new life in Los Angeles, and then their live-in nanny bails with no warning, and so Sloan is left scrambling to find a competent caretaker, and then she finds Rafe Whitecomb, and he's actually been a narrator before, even though, you know, he doesn't look like the type, and he ends up being like a live-in nanny there, and stuff develops between the two of them pretty quickly. This is a divorced mom as well, so there is some ex-husband drama now and then. But I really like this one. Rebecca Weatherspoon does consent and like sex conversations very well. And what I love about this one is like they're very, like they notice how attracted they are to each other. And I like that it doesn't just all explode in sexual tension. They like have a discussion about like, hey, so this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm thinking. I know that this could be sticky. It could be inappropriate because like we literally are in the same house, but I just wanted to tell you what my feelings are. And I love that. And I love the daughters, and I love seeing a buff bearded dude be this like sweet, tender-hearted Manny. It was amazing. Then I have another parent with twins, actually. I love this book, and I'm very sad that these authors haven't continued this series. So this is Stay by Serena Bowen and Al Kennedy, and this is book 2 in the WAGS series, so Wives and Girlfriends of Hockey Players. And this one, Haley Taylor Emery, has this like virtual assistant service, and Matt Erickson is like someone who partakes in it because he travels a lot, because he is a professional hockey player, and one of her employees was not doing a great job, and I think they might have even like been like taking pictures of his place or whatever, and so she actually volunteers to do it personally, because like she's part owner of this company, and he actually has like cameras in his apartment, which is how he knew the other person was doing stuff they shouldn't, and he thinks this person is beautiful, so he like sends a thank you gift to the virtual assistant, and it turns out that it's like the half owner of the company and everything, and yeah, so he's a divorced dad, and it has I believe he has twin daughters, or maybe he just has 2 kids. But anyway, they start dating, and I love this one too because I have such a like kink for women who have never had like pleasure with their partner before, and then you get a hero who's like, baby, I'm gonna take the time to make it happen, and that's Matt. He's great, and also he has a pooch. That's one of the things she does. She needs to walk his dog too, is something that he needs. And I love this book. And there's only 2 books in this series that they did, and I'm very sad that they haven't done more of them because I love them. All right, continuing on, we have Rewriting the Stars by Claire Kingsley. This is Bailey Brothers book 6, and yeah, you should kind of read these ones in order. I feel bad holding up book 6, but this one has a single mom of a small child as well, and this one is like the book. Like this book brought me so much joy and so many tears at the same time. I've done other books talking about, or videos talking about Claire Kingsley, so we won't do it here, but this book was special. I'm very glad that I got to read it and love it so much. But this one is, let me double check. Is this Levi? Come on, tell me what his name is. Yeah, Levi Bailey. He's a firefighter, and he actually is secret buddies with one of the family rivals, which is the Haven family. Like throughout the whole series, we see their like feud that they have going on. We don't know why there's a feud, but it's a thing. And they've been friends since high school when they like did a project together. And then, you know, they were never anything more. They were friends, but they were secret friends, right? Because their families are against each other. And she, you know, goes away, lives a life, is with a man who breaks her heart. She has her kid. She comes back to town. She's staying with her parents, I think. And they start texting again. And they literally have their names as like Romeo and Juliet in their phones and everything. And then when they first like interact again, like she goes to like the hardware store and her little boy like kind of gets away from her and she doesn't like notice right away. And Levi knows who the kid is, and so he picks him up and the little boy is just immediately attached with him, and it's adorable. And Annika and him now, like Levi just decides that he's done with the feud. He's like, this is stupid. You're my best friend. Why am I going to let this feud that has nothing to do with us get in the way of what could be our happily ever after? And like a good Bailey, he takes charge, and they also work at figuring out the feud, because there is some serious things that happen in this book that are a bit ridiculous that keep getting blamed on each other, and we are getting to the bottom of it. It's great. Then we have some historicals to share. I was like, man, I haven't been doing recommendation videos where I can put historicals in them for a while, and I need to fix that. So I have 3 historicals here that have single parents in them. So the first one is Accidentally Compromising the Duke by Stacy Reed. This is the first book, I think, in the Wedded by Scandal series. I kind of love that in this picture, you can, number one, literally see his like boxers poking out, and he's wearing velvet pants with like an elastic waistband. I'm not judging, but you know, photos sometimes, right? So this one we have Miss Adelaide Hayes, and she decides to like put herself in a compromising position with a man that she like wants to marry instead of like the guy that her parents want her to marry. But she accidentally picks the room that has Edmund Rochester, the Duke of Wolverton, in it, and he was seeking a wife for his 2 daughters, and he was wanting to marry her friend, and so her friend actually tricked her into going into the wrong room. So it's kind of sad. And so for Edmund, this worked out perfectly because he needed a wife either way, and this woman just literally tumbled into bed with him, and so it's going to happen. But he means this to be a marriage in name only, and she's going to take care of his kids, and it's going to be perfect. Well, our heroine expects more out of her marriage than just being treated like a nanny, and she gets a little bit feisty about it. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed his girls, and our heroine is really good with them, and it's really cute. Then this one, our single father, like his child is a bit older, but I just wanted to share it anyway, because this book, there aren't as many like videos that like this book fits into as some other ones that I recommend, so we're going with it. And that's The Many Sins of Lord Cameron. So this is book 3 in the Mackenzie McBride series by Jennifer Ashley. And in this one we have Cameron Mackenzie, who he has a teenager named Daniel. And he is actually like at I think it's a house party. And then Ainsley Douglas, who she's actually a McBride before she was married. And her husband was older and he's passed away. She is on a mission for Queen Victoria to get back some scandalous letters that have been stolen from her. And so she sneaks into a room and she finds herself face to face with Cam, who like she says that she was, you know, there for a liaison, but he doesn't believe her. And so he vows to finish what they started many years ago when they ran into each other back then. So things get feisty. I love Ainsley, I love Cameron, and I love Daniel, and we get to see Daniel in this one too, and he's like a teenager in here, and it's so much fun. But yeah, I really love all of the Mackenzie brothers for sure. And I feel like Cameron is the one that literally gets recommended the least, because obviously there's Ian Mackenzie, and then I tend to recommend Heart's book quite a lot too, because he's like a duke and it's Grumpy Sunshine and all that. And then like for a second chance romance, like Lady Isabella's Scandalous Marriage, that one gets recommended. But nobody ever finds a way to recommend The Many Sins of Lord Cameron, and I think he deserves it, because this book is great. And then the last one I want to mention, which shouldn't be a surprise, and we actually have 2 single parents in this one, which is perfect. We have Dangerous by Minerva Spencer, which I always want to find a way to recommend. This is one of my favorite books that I read in 2021. I loved it. This is a 6-star book for me. We have Lady Mia Marlington, who hasn't been free in 17 years because she was held in a harem by a sultan. And now the sultan is dead, but she actually had a son when she was like 16 because she was raped by this sultan. She has been kept in his harem, and he liked her because she was exotic looking to him and beautiful. And so she has a teenage son who is in a lot of danger now because the sultan actually had an older son. So even though Gabriel was his favorite, he isn't the oldest. And so both him and Mia were in a lot of danger when the sultan died. And she's found her way back to England because she was rescued and got away. And now her father's trying to marry her off because it's so shameful that his daughter was kept there, even though obviously none of this was her fault. So he's trying to marry her off. And she wants to find someone to marry who she can like steal a little bit of money from them and make her way back to try to rescue her son. But then our hero, Adam de Courtenay, is called the Murderous Marquess because he's lost 2 wives, and it's believed that he killed them. And he actually has, I think, 3 daughters that he stays away from for reasons we don't know. But he is looking for a woman to give him an heir, because he doesn't have one yet, and to possibly be the mother to his daughters as well. But him and Mia have an agreement. They're going to do this. She agrees to marry him over some of the very old people that her father's trying to get her into, and they have a spicy and feisty connection with each other, and I absolutely love this book. It's so good. But yeah, they're both single parents at the start of it. So there you go. I did a great job this time. Kept it at around 20 minutes. So those are some recommendations for single parents. Let me know some of your favorites. Obviously, like I said, I have made a video like this before. I know the takeover should be in there and all that, but it was in the original video I made. So yeah, let me know some of your favorites, and I'll see you next time. Bye.